Lights, camera, debate, ignite, passion strong under the spotlight. Tune in for the clash, tune in for the spark, the critic and the cynic light up the dark.
Hey, what's up, and welcome back to the Critic and the Cynic. My name is Dave, and I'm going to be the critic with you this evening, and with me as always is
Hilary.
Who's gonna be
The Cynic.
That's right. So we are on to episode 6, week 6 of our holiday watch-a-thon of absolutely trash Christmas films, and we got a whole new list of movies to talk about, but thankfully it's not 6. It's been 6 all up until this point, but this week will be 5. Will be. I don't care what anybody else says, it's going to be 5, and we got the movies right in front of us to talk about and to predict. So once again, the structure of the podcast is as follows. We have not seen these movies yet. The first half of the podcast is we look at what these movies are, we read about their premise, their taglines, we look at the poster, we see who's in them, and then we kind of just predict on if we're gonna like the movies, if the movie's gonna be any good, and then we go through and we watch the movies, and then we review them for the second half of the podcast. So let's go ahead and take a look at our 5 movies this week, starting with the first one. This is the only real one that I've heard about this week because I saw a bunch of trailers and stuff for it, and this one is called The Christmas Quest. I could be wrong about it, but when I was watching the trailers and stuff for it, it felt to me like National Treasure or Tomb Raider or Indiana Jones or something along that lines.
Except awful.
Except Christmas.
Except awful.
We'll see. It could be bad, but it could be fun. It could be tongue-in-cheek. It could take itself too seriously. But what it does have is our queen of Hallmark.
And she really is the queen. I looked it up.
There's a queen?
Oh,
There's an actual queen.
She is the queen. She has the most Hallmark Christmas movies under her belt.
Yep, and that is Lacey Chabert. That is how we say her name. We said it wrong last time, or I did, or something. But it is Lacey Chabert. She is the lady of the hour, and next to her is a guy that I've seen in a bunch of stuff. I know him, Christopher Paloha. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but he's been in a lot of stuff. I think most recently I saw him in the Angel Studios film The Shift, which I got an early screener from Angel Studios themselves, but he's in a lot of other things as well. A lot of Hallmark, it looks like, but he was in a lot of TV shows.
I've seen him in a TV show.
Yeah. He was John Galt in Atlas Shrugged.
I don't recall that, but alright.
I don't recall either, but I recognize the name. Life Unexpected?
That is the show I watched, yes.
Yeah, okay, so he's that. He was in Mad Men, True Calling, which I watched. I mean, he's in a lot of stuff. I'm just mentioning stuff that he's in more than one episode with, because he's in a lot of shows with one episode. He's one of those one episode type of guys. So let's take a look. It doesn't have a tagline that I can see right off the get-go, but let's go ahead and read what the premise says here. An archaeologist, her ex-husband, who is a Norse language expert, searched for legendary treasure in Iceland during Christmas. Others join the hunt, leading to a thrilling race to secure the treasure before the wrong people obtain it. Okay, so it's not telling you what the treasure is, but it has something to do with Iceland. It has something to do with Nordic language. So I'm guessing it has something to do with Santa Claus. Maybe they're trying to find the North Pole or something.
God, that sounds terrible.
I actually think it could be fun. But then again, I'm a big fan and supporter of the National Treasure films. Then again, I know not everybody is. If they go out and try to steal the Declaration of Independence, I'm going to laugh. But no, they're not going to do that. Languages, English and Icelandic. Doubt it. It's not going to happen. But then again, they had Finnish, so I don't know.
I don't think they
whatever. So, I personally like the poster for this. I haven't in the past for a lot of the movies, but you got the Northern Lights. You got what looks like polar ice caps in the background. They're standing on a rocky mountain top. The dude's holding an incredibly tiny flashlight, and she's got some kind of journal of sorts. But it looks legit. In my opinion, it looks like an interesting movie. Now, I will say one thing. In the font for the movie The Christmas Quest, in the queue, there seems to be a Northern Star.
Oh, good. Maybe it's our first hint that this will be a stinker.
The Northern Star is your first hint that it's going to be a stinker. I don't know. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it just because if it comes down to basing it off of movies in the past and basing it off of National Treasure, I'm a fan of that. I'm okay with that. All right? So, that's The Christmas Quest, which leads us to number 2 on the list, which is our Netflix movie, which is an animated film.
And I am not the biggest fan of animation.
I am not either, though sometimes they can win me over. And sometimes, like, especially if it's Christmas related, those have won me over as well. This might actually feel the most holiday centered out of anything, because it's got, if we look at the poster, that's Santa, right? That's Santa. He's stuck on some electrical wire or phone wire, and there's not much to it. He's stuck, and he's holding on to his Christmas bag. Kids are staring out their window at him. There apparently is some turkeys hanging out on top of the electrical wire. I don't know anything about the plot yet, because we haven't read it yet, but the poster looks Christmassy. It's got Santa in there. The rating on Trek.tv is 78%. 81% audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes, though Rotten Tomatoes does have 56% rotten as for the critic side. I don't know. TMDb has a rating of 80% and IMDb has a rating of 79%. Everybody has rated this one.
Alright, well, maybe we should watch it with the kids because it is animated.
Yeah, they might enjoy it. They might enjoy it. They might hate it, but they might enjoy it. Let's go ahead and read the premise. It's an unforgettable Christmas for the town folks of Wellington-on-Sea when the worst snowstorm in history alters everybody's plans, including Santa. So Santa's caught up in a snowstorm.
That seems illogical, but okay.
You don't think he's ever run into a snowstorm before?
No, I think he's run into plenty, and I don't think it's a problem.
Well, I think usually, he travels above the clouds, above the snowstorms, so he doesn't actually have to run into these things. But whatever. So, yeah, I mean, it could be interesting. I think the kids will like it. I mean, I don't know for sure. Brian Cox plays Santa, all right? Know that voice. We have... Oh, the lady doctor from Doctor Who, she's playing one of the characters. Bill Nighy is playing Bill.
Wait, like the actual Bill Nye?
Not Bill Nye, Bill Nighy.
Oh, okay.
However you say his name, I'm pretty sure it's Bill Nighy.
Alright, then that's confusing. You had me excited for a second. I thought it was Bill Nye the Science Guy.
That would be funny if it was Bill Nye the Science Guy in there, but no, I think he's doing other things at this point. But yeah, that Christmas, it could be good, it could be blah, we'll find out. That brings us to number 3 on the list, which, out of all the posters, I'm not looking forward to this one.
The heck?
We're talking about some kind of army movie situation. I'm not sure. It's called Private, so the private as an army. Private Princess Christmas. All right, we have a girl in an army outfit with a tiara on.
Yeah, because that's not confusing or anything.
Reporting for royal duty.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
That's the tagline. It's right there on the poster even. I'm not looking forward to this one.
No, that looks disastrous.
I mean, what's it trying to base this off of? G.I. Jane? I mean, what is it?
Or Cadet Kelly?
Cadet Kelly? Like, everybody knows Cadet Kelly. Yeah, I don't know what it's about, but there's not much to the posters. Almost not even Christmassy, other than the word Christmas on the poster.
I see a Christmas tree.
You see like a corner of a Christmas tree in the background. Oh my God! So let's go ahead and read what it is. Princess Violet of Wingravia must complete a tough leadership boot camp in Colorado, or risk losing her throne to her uncle. Okay, so the Princess Diaries?
Okay.
She's like literally a princess that has to go through army boot camp.
Nowhere in there does it say anything about Christmas.
And nowhere that doesn't
Can we
say
just
anything
skip
about
this one and say it's probably not a Christmas?
even though the title says Christmas on it. No, it's on the list.
I hate the list.
I hate the list too. Who's in it? Alyssa Scooby-Doo. Alyssa Scoveby. Derek Klena. Oh, this is the one with Erica Durance. Or Durance is, I think, how you say her name. That's Lois from Smallville. So, this is the one with Lois in it.
But it's not a selling point.
It is for me. It's the only selling point. If you ever actually watch her medical drama show, Saving Hope, that in a lot of ways, more often than not, felt Hallmark-y, except for the fact that it did get a lot more dramatic, and obviously some of the wounds and stuff that people had were too much for Hallmark, but like the feel-good nature of the show felt like Hallmark. So like I could see her doing a good job in one of these movies, but in this, I don't know. But then again, remember, in Smallville, her character Lois is the daughter of an army colonel.
Okay.
So, army general, not colonel. I guess it doesn't really matter that much, but whatever.
I'm sure it does to the people in the army.
It does, yes. Private Princess Christmas. It's almost a tongue tie. All right, going on to number 4 on the list. Now, this one, I've enjoyed seeing the previews a little bit, and that is Sugarplummed. This is the one that you're like, I'm not going back to watch other Sugarplum movies, which there is none. It's like a movie within a movie situation.
Well, it looked like there would be prequels, and
yeah, because that was kind of the idea, was that in the setting of the movie, there is a movie series, something about sugar plums or something like that, and that is what they're basing stuff off of in here. So let's go ahead and look at the poster here. We got Janelle Parrish from Pretty Little Liars and Maggie Lawson from Psych. Okay, so there's definitely magic in this. There's some Christmas magic going on in this movie. Okay, so our tagline for the film is, her Christmas needs a little star power. Okay, and I guess that explains why Janelle Parrish is holding a Christmas star on the poster. I don't know. Let's go ahead and read the premise. Emily's wish for a picture-perfect Christmas comes true when a magical, optimistic movie character steps off of the screen to help. But as things spiral out of control, she learns that true holiday perfection might look very different from what she imagined. Last Action Hero, in that, you had the kid that jumped into the movie and met all these movie characters. In this, the movie character has stepped out of the screen to help. Now that's the movie magic right there.
Is it?
Yes. I'm looking forward to it. I think, I thought that the trailers and the previews that we've seen were kind of cute, which is interesting because we've talked about a bunch of these holiday movies, but like, when it comes down to what they choose to show you as a special preview while you're watching the Hallmark Channel, they've skipped out on some of those.
Well, they've showed us these.
They showed us this. I don't remember them talking about the cadet one.
No.
The Private Princess one?
Well, that's because that one's probably junk.
Yeah, like, I'm surprised that we've seen previews for A Christmas Quest and for Sugarplummed, but not Private Princess Christmas.
Because they're like, yeah, we're just going to pretend this one doesn't exist. Just push it through real fast and
all right.
Don't notice.
So, okay, so that was the 4th one. That was Sugarplummed, which leads us to the last movie that we're going to be talking about in this podcast. And this is Leah's Perfect Gift. All right, this is...
What the heck?
It's one of those posters where you look at it and you're like, I see Hanukkah.
Yeah, we got Hanukkah and Christmas.
We see Christmas and Hanukkah. That's what you see on the poster. She has all of these Star of David things that's hanging from some kind of stick. In the background, you got the candle, menorah candle thing. And on his side, you got presents in a Christmas tree and ornaments. I've noticed that there's a lot of blue on her side as well, and red and green on his.
Well, that's...
Is the color of Hanukkah blue?
I don't know.
It's possible.
I mean, everything that I see that's Hanukkah related usually is blue.
Yeah. Our tagline of the film is Mary Meets Mazel tov.
Blue and white and silver.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so there is blue and white and silver in this picture. All right, so Merry meets Mazel tov is the tagline.
And Mary is spelled like Merry Christmas, not Mary like a person.
Right, because there's not a character in the movie named Mary. Her name is Leah. I don't recognize any of the players in this one, which brings us to the premise of the film. Leah Mayer? Goodness. Leah Mayer?
Leah Meyer, maybe.
Leah Meyer, a Jewish woman who has always dreamed of experiencing a traditional Christmas, faces unexpected challenges when she spends the holidays with her boyfriend's uptight Connecticut family. Let's meet the parents.
Another one?
Another one. This is gonna be like the Indian one because of culture clashing. Culture clashing and a little bit of religious clashing. Even though the Indian one they were all Christians and they all like Christmas. It's just like they had some Indian regular culture stuff that was clashing. And this is going to be literally Hanukkah versus Christmas a little bit.
And of course, the Connecticut family is uptight. Like, because when you think of uptight people, you do think Connecticut. I do, anyway.
Do you?
I do.
Oh man, they're uptight. They must be from Connecticut. You know, I think of Connecticut as more of a homey place, but maybe that's just me. A homey, quiet, like, place.
Okay.
But maybe that's just because I've never really been there before.
Been there.
Okay, so yeah, this one, I think that this one could be okay. I think this is one of those movies where the movie poster might be lying to you a little bit, where it's like, it's giving you these vibes of, oh god, look how corny and terrible it's gonna be.
Yeah, again, this looks like it's from the 50s, 60s.
It's one of those, the
picture's fuzzy, so it just gives you that initial feel of being older. They've got corny smiles.
Corny smiles all the way. Yeah, it's one of those things where I would almost want to try to guess what they're thinking.
Well, he's definitely hoping he gets to go take a nap soon.
He's tired. He's like, I've been taking these promo pictures for 7 hours straight, and they can't get a good picture.
And she looks like she's holding a fart.
She's the one that's farting this time?
No, holding it in.
Oh, she's holding it in. She hasn't farted yet.
Exactly.
I think she just wants to go home and not be in this movie.
And fart.
I just go home now, please.
No, I mean, I'm sure it's fine.
It's probably fine. It's just, I think whoever's doing these posters half the time has no idea what to do. They're like, yes, we want the symbolism there for Christmas and Hanukkah, but how are we going to do that and fit the people in there at the same time?
I'm pretty sure it's the people just with their hands up, and then they photoshopped in the rest.
I think they could have done that.
Because that's what it looks like to me.
And that would have been easy to do given the very, very, very bland, basic one-color background, which you can easily paste things over with that kind of thing. But who knows? Who knows? This could be a whole lot of garbage. It could be fun. It could be great. Who knows? I'm just gonna say it's probably not great, but
well, we also haven't seen an advertisement for that one.
That's true, but it is also the last on the list. So
matter. They've been like promoting the Christmas Quest and Sugarplummed like this whole time.
They have. They could have squeezed in Private Princess Christmas and Leah's Perfect Gift at any point, but they didn't. All right, but those are the movies. Once again, all of them are The Christmas Quest, That Christmas, Private Princess Christmas, Sugarplummed, and Leah's Perfect Gift. Okay.
I dare you to say The Christmas Quest 5 times really fast.
The Christmas Quest? I dare you to say Private Princess Christmas 5 times fast.
No, I'm not taking that challenge.
All right, so we'll catch you in the flippity flip. After the break, we're going to be talking about these movies, and we're going to find out if they're any good, if they're any bad, and if they're worth watching, if at all. All right, so stick around, and we'll be right back.
Approximately 10 hours later.
The Christmas Quest. All right, so that was a movie. What'd you think about it?
Well, it was different. To say it was a good different.
Well, I mean, is it a bad different?
It's not a good movie.
I disagree. I actually found myself pretty invested in the movie and the story, and the pacing overall. It had some problems with pacing in the beginning because it really wanted to get to the quest of the film. So there was a lot of things happening all at once, and there was some moments where day turned to night really quick, and you're kind of like, when did that happen? But ultimately, it was definitely inspired by a National Treasure. I would say more so than the Da Vinci Code, even though the two of those movies, they were after the same exact treasure. But just in terms of raiding tombs and finding riddles and solving things like that and going from clue to clue to clue, it was very much National Treasure. Even the way that it started, where it started in the past, and the main character's mother was the original treasure hunter, and then as she grows up, this character played by Lacey Chabert wants to be like her mother, and she ends up getting recruited to try to find the lost treasure of the Yule lads. I want to Google to find out if this is actually a thing, because the treasure that they were searching for in the National Treasure movie and in the Da Vinci Code, since it was the same treasure, was a real thing. So I'm kind of curious about this Yule lad treasure. I'm gonna look up, see what happens. Yule lads are a thing. It's an Icelandic thing.
Well,
I remember when my brothers and I did this game show for Christmas. I looked up personally all these different Christmas traditions from different countries, and I specifically remember the Yule lads.
well, regardless if it's a real treasure and a real thing, it was very much a cheesy, simplified movie. The parts that were supposed to be tense was just silly, and there was very little risk.
They had to keep it light because it was the Hallmark channel.
But that's what makes it bad.
I don't know about bad, but lighthearted, yes. I thought that a lot of the riddles were clever, and they, at least, it felt like they were trying. And I feel like whenever they do that, the movies in general are better than they have been. So the Icelandic Christmas folklore, you have the Yule lads, and yep, there are 13 mischievous pranksters who steal from or harass the population. They come to town one by one during the last 13 nights before Yule. So that was showcased in the movie because it was taking place in like 13 days before Christmas. And then it also talks about the Yule cat, that's also a thing. And throughout the movie, it actually takes place in Iceland. So this is another one of those screensaver-like movies. So if you don't like the mystery, the riddle, the treasure hunting stuff, you can at least appreciate the Icelandic view. I thought that was pretty nice in the movie. Lots of pretty sights.
I will say that the acting was good. Our two leads were...
Yeah, and the two leads I have seen in the past before with other things. Obviously, Lacey Chabert's and a lot of stuff, and I had recently just seen our lead guy too recently, and I think that he's kind of a goofy guy, but also is interesting enough to watch. I'm trying to find if there's any treasure assorted with this Yule lads thing. No. But, I mean, in general, they are known to be pranksters that do steal from the population. So what do they do with the stuff they steal from? So I guess they probably took that folklore, just the fact that they steal from people, and they're like, okay, let's turn that into a treasure hunt. And I guess that's fine.
And watching a Christmas treasure hunt is awful.
I don't think so. I thought it worked pretty well because
Silly. It is.
Of course it is. It's silly. It's supposed to be silly.
It's not supposed to be silly.
If
they were trying to make it serious.
I will say, if I wasn't already familiar with the Yule lads, I probably wouldn't have connected with the movie as well as I did. I've been like, the Yule lads, what the crap is that? You know? But because I had heard about them and had researched them in the past, I connected with the story just a little bit more. So there is that. But overall, what would you rate this?
45.
45? That's rough.
I'm sick of these movies.
You're letting that paint, you see, I'm always objective. I could watch a movie that I'm sick of watching movies all day and all night and all whatever, But at the end of the day, I still do what I normally do and rate things as objectively as I always would. I wouldn't be like, I'm so sick and tired of doing this. I'm going to rate it crap.
It was silly.
I'm rating it 70.
Then you're silly.
No, well, it's a fun. We're gonna watch National Treasure one of these days.
No, thank you.
Yes.
Because that will also be silly.
I have a love-hate relationship with the sequel. There's things about it that I really like, but nothing really beats the original, so yeah. Okay, so that was The Christmas Quest, which brings us to the next film on the list, which is the first Netflix film, or actually second to last Netflix film, I should say, that we're talking about overall, and that is called That Christmas. I think in terms of what everybody was expecting from this movie, you were right, and I was wrong.
Well, that's just life, isn't it?
Well, that's not. I'm not gonna even say that I was fully wrong. I was cautiously optimistic. I don't like a lot of animated films anymore as is, but sometimes Christmas-related animated films can be winners, and it's the highest rated movie that we're looking at this week.
Okay, but I don't know how they took an animated children's film and turned it into something just so incredibly boring.
Yeah,
It wasn't funny, it wasn't cute, it was just boring.
I certainly zoned out pretty early on in this one. And for me, I guess it kind of came down to some expectations. Because right smack dab in the middle of the poster, you got Santa Claus. And I thought it was going to be a Santa Claus movie. Santa Claus wasn't really in it until like the tail end of the movie.
I think he was kind of narrating it overall.
I don't care who's narrating it. It doesn't help the fact that he's not a main character. Instead, what your main character are all these kids that have like no parental figures or something, and they just...
Well, they had parental figures. The parental figures were just
gone
out of the picture temporarily.
Yeah, so it was just like... And there was a lot of characters.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on, and for the most part, I was struggling trying to find out why we care. I don't know about you. Did the kids? We watched with the kids. Did the kids like it? Because
Liam liked it. I asked him, and he said that he did. Finn, he was out. He was just like, no, I'm not watching this.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I liked the poster a lot more than I liked anything in the actual movie. And I don't know if there's much more to talk about with it because I was zoned out. Okay, so I stopped paying attention somewhere around halfway through, and I just kind of zoned out. And I was going back and forth, and I was going back to it. I'm like, maybe it's getting better. Nope, not at all.
Well, I would like to know, it didn't feel like an American film. And I think that's part of the problem is we were having trouble relating to it because it just wasn't, country, United Kingdom. It was not an American film, and it did not feel like an American
film. It had more of a UK theme. Yeah, you mentioned Boxing Day.
It was definitely set in the UK, but it also did not feel American. Because, when you see enough movies from other countries, you get a sense for it. The sense of humor is different, the overall tone is different, and this just did not feel things that we were used to.
And you had mentioned Boxing Day and stuff that, which is not anything that we pay much attention to at all here. So,
and this movie had the same feel to me as that ballet movie. I think it was called.
Yes. I would say in terms of animation as well, the animation is okay. At times, it's pretty good, but it's not anywhere near what you expect from animation these days at the same time.
And I'll say that, for a kids movie, it was relatively deep in the emotional stories. It certainly wasn't Hallmark. I mean, they were going a lot deeper than usual. But again, that's also why it didn't feel American, is because American movies, especially American kid movies, they just assume the kids are morons and they dumb it way down.
Yeah, they do. I don't know. And I think for me, it just didn't really work. Well, here's what I find interesting. Here's the updated scores since we've seen it and everything. The Rotten Tomatoes score is 56%, which is a rotten score, while the audience is 81.
Who their audience is then?
The audience is anybody that logs into Rotten Tomatoes that can score it on their own. That's the same thing as you go onto IMDb and you can click the star rating. It's the same thing. It's just the audience. It's everybody.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is I don't know who the audience.
I mean, it's not even that far off. I mean, 79% on IMDb versus the 81 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, but I'm asking, like, is it children? Is it adults? Is it Americans? Like, what exactly is the audience?
It's all the countries that have been watching it. Everybody that has an internet connection that can go on and have an account either on Rotten Tomatoes or on IMDb and have rated these things. 74% on the
I don't
TMDb.
expect you to have the answer. I'm just saying that that's the question that I have.
I don't know. All I know is that the critic side is the only thing that is different. Everything else is the same. 81%, 79%, 74%, and 73%, which is all things that an audience can rate. But the critic side, which is specifically limited to actual critics, is 56%.
Well, I don't disagree with them. It was not that exciting. It was not that great of a movie.
Yeah. Okay. So, but I noticed you didn't say your crap button on this one, and if I had my crap button, honestly, this would probably be a contender. But
I didn't think it was that bad. It was just boring.
Yeah, it was boring.
And especially for a kid's movie, you don't want it to be boring.
Okay, so how do you rate it?
We'll just go straight down the middle. I mean, I think that some people might like it, some people probably would hate it, so 50%.
I'm going with 40%. All right, guys, that is That Christmas, which brings us to the next film on the list, which is called Private Princess Christmas. I don't even know where to start with this one. This is the movie that
crap. My crap button is engaged.
Engage crap. Well, it's a good enough movie to say that with, specifically because we know one thing about it. That Hallmark was not promoting it.
Because they were ashamed of this turd of a movie.
They're like, we're just going to squeak this in because we have a lot of time that we could do it. But it really felt, when we were watching it, like somebody, at least to me, it felt like somebody was high on some kind of weird drug. And they're like, let's put in some obnoxiously unrealistic things and we'll smash them together and make a movie out of it.
Nothing about this was realistic. Nothing about this made sense. It was just a hodgepodge crap pile.
Yes, I agree with that sentiment, but I also think that was kind of the point. There was parts of this film that definitely felt like it was trying to be so bad that it was good, which is why one of the first things that happens in it is they got a caroling group in their Wingravia town.
No, you forgot the very first thing is the princess is just sitting in bed with chocolate smeared all over her face because that's normal.
Yeah, that's how princesses act. But no, there was a caroling group in Wingravia, she's the princess of Wingravia, and they were called the Whoop-de-Doos. And who says that unless you're trying to make a movie that makes no sense and is trying to be so bad that it's good?
I don't know, because 2 scenes later, they're having a freaking goat pick out their Christmas tree, okay?
That's
These
right, that's one of their traditions. Get the goat, have the goat choose your tree. Try not to have the goat stand in front of the tree before you set it off to make the decision, because obviously it's going to pick the worst one. But then she's sent off because the whole idea is that she's just a brat. So in order for her not to be a brat, she has to go to leadership boot camp, which is a boot camp that's not for people who are going to the army, even though they're dressing like they're going to the army, and they're being taught by army people who are supposed to be all soft and cheerful. Yes. And like they get in trouble if they are too hard.
So none of this Made sense.
And so we have a group of people that are also doing the boot camp
It's
with
just
her.
a bunch of losers.
Well, it's a bunch of losers, but they're ridiculous losers. There's the pop star. There's Bitcoin Bobby or whatever his name is.
Yep. A sports star.
There's a quarterback or something from, and there's like one other.
No, there's two others. There's some girl, and I don't really remember what her deal was.
I don't
She was kind of
remember the
nerdy. And then there was a guy who was just like a rich, spoiled brat.
Yeah, and so these are people that have the ability to end up in a leadership position. For her, she's going to be the queen someday.
Well, only if she passes this boot camp.
And all of the other characters are in similar situations where if they get through the boot camp, they can be in this state of leadership.
Okay, so Bitcoin Bobby, let's just talk about him for a second. Because he like defrauded a bunch of people. So why exactly is he learning how to be a leader and not in prison?
Because money and stuff.
He had no money, that was the problem.
Well, whatever. I don't know. But the more that you watch it, the more of these just random things happen in which they really don't make sense. And a majority of it is very little on the Christmas side. I'd say towards the end is a lot more Christmas, but like a majority of it is just all of this random stuff thrown all at once. And honestly, I did laugh here and there because it's just so obnoxiously ridiculous that it's almost hard not to laugh.
I did not laugh.
Yeah, because you don't have that kind of sense of humor. Except with our spy movie, which is the same thing, just with spies. It was tongue-in-cheek. It was making fun of itself.
That one, yes, it was making fun of itself. They weren't making fun of themselves here. They were just a hot mess.
Maybe. But I don't know. I didn't mind it. Especially I didn't mind based off of what I thought the movie was going to be ultimately, especially based off of the poster and what it ended up being. I thought it's a lot better than what I thought it was going to be.
No, I'm sick into crap.
Okay. So you don't have to rate it, I guess, because it's crap. So for you, it's 0% then?
Yes, nobody ever should talk about this movie or look at it or watch it or anything. This was awful.
I'm going with 60. 60%.
What is wrong with you?
It was enjoyable in the terms of it's so bad that it's good. And whenever you cross that threshold, the score starts going up again, in my opinion. All right, so we have a score of 0 and a score of 60. This is one of those movies where you kind of have to decide for yourself, and you have to decide what kind of sense of humor you have. Because, as we always say, comedy is subjective. Horror is subjective. The two of those genres, it's always like, what kind of person are you? What kind of audience member are you? Because it could go really, really to different extremes, basically. But yeah, that was Private Princess Christmas, which leads us to the next movie on the list, which is called Sugarplummed. So we just finished Sugarplummed. This was one that I was going back and forth from on thinking it could be good, it could be kind of stupid, but what do you think about it?
I think it was fine, and borderline good.
Borderline good.
I mean, like, it's obviously not great, but it did not take itself too seriously. I mean, the whole point was kind of making fun of all the rules and tropes that Christmas movies use and trying to bring them into the quote-unquote real world.
Right, it was a tongue-in-cheek type of movie, so if you like Elf, then I think that you could appreciate Sugarplummed because instead of an elf in the North Pole coming to the real world, you have a movie character that is from basically Hallmark Christmas movie series and comes into the real world and uses her Christmas magic to help a family with their Christmas dilemma.
Right.
I thought that it felt like Christmas, not just because of Christmas magic, but it definitely seemed to lean into the fact that it was getting some inspiration from Elf. They had some Elf music in there where I had whistling with the Christmas jingle bell music that you heard a lot from an Elf. It had the same type of music in this, and a lot of that making fun of itself really, I think, helped it.
Right, because it was a two-pronged approach, because the person from the movie was, I don't understand this world because these rules always work and everything is magic. And then you had the actual character based in the real world who was always like, yeah, that's stupid. All your rules are stupid. They don't work here. This is not how the world works.
Right, and that's pretty funny. There was a scene in the movie where she was arrested and she's like, oh, my name is Sugarplummed or whatever, or Sugarplummed for short. And it reminded me a lot of the scene in The Santa Claus with Tim Allen when he was arrested and he's like, no, I got all these different names, Saint Nicholas, you know, Santa Claus, and all this different things, where the cops are just looking at him like a complete nutcase. And it was like that. So it's got a little bit of everything. It's got a little bit of Elf in there, a little bit of the miracle, Mrs. She's basically Mary Poppins. And then you got a little bit of the Santa Claus in there. You mentioned Barbie, but Barbie was kind of like Elf in terms of this fictional character coming into the real world. So it's got that fish out of water scenario, and there's a lot going on here that I actually appreciated quite a bit. The two leads here, it was pretty cool because, once again, we're talking about a movie that wasn't really about romance. There was romance in there for the kid.
Well, very slight.
Very slight.
Like a crush, like a
right,
teenage crush.
But otherwise it was just about the family, because she's a lawyer, but really she's trying her hardest to be more together with her family. And that's really what the movie is about. It's not about love at all, which is cool. So any of these movies on Hallmark which isn't about romance is pretty good. So here's the thing though, we are out of buttons.
Right, and I might have thrown in a unicorn button if I still had it.
Yeah.
I think it was better than a lot of the movies that we've watched. I think that this could get away with not even being a Hallmark movie. Like, it could have easily been a Netflix movie, or even a studio movie. I would believe it as a studio movie because they were making fun of it.
It was making fun of itself because I forget what it was on the channel that they said.
It was the home holiday. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Silly.
But Hallmark's not just holidays, but
Holiday Home Network. I don't remember.
Something like that,
Yeah.
where it was like, clearly you're talking about Hallmark.
Yeah.
And then she comes into the real world. She's got a rule book with her, which is all the tropes of Hallmark.
Yeah. If they hate each other, they will fall in love.
Yep. So I think that this was a pretty solid movie on the Hallmark list of Christmas movies. I was hoping that would be the case, and obviously it's got the Christmas magic in there just to actually feel a little bit more like Christmas. So what would you rate it?
I'm gonna go with 70.
I would probably agree with that. I was kind of going back and forth between 70 and like 75, you know?
Yeah.
It's got those moments in it, but at the same time, one of the problems that Hallmark seems to have with almost every single one of their movies is pacing. And so there's moments, I think, in all these movies, almost all of them, where it feels like it slows down to the point where I just don't care about it, get to the point. Even though every single one of the movies is an hour and 24 minutes minus all the commercials.
Right. But sometimes they feel very long.
Yes, some of them feel like they go on for 3 hours. This one's pacings wasn't that bad, but there was moments here and there where I was just like, it's slowing down. So I'll go with 70 with you. So we both agree, the Critic and the Cynic, we both agree 70% for Sugarplummed. But this is definitely one that I would recommend. Out of all the list of movies that we've seen, I would say this is one of the better ones.
Yeah, I would agree. So if you're looking for a holiday movie, feel free to put this one on and you'll probably have fun with it.
Yeah, for sure. So this was Sugarplummed, which brings us to the next movie on the list, and the final movie that we're talking about this week, which is called Leah's Perfect Gift. Okay, so Leah's Perfect Gift is, I don't think, as bad as I thought it would be.
No, I think it was kind of endearing. Like, the main girl, Leah, she was the best part of this movie. She was very relatable, she was down to earth, she was likable. she was a well-written character, in my opinion.
And it was also a movie that didn't exactly have Christmas magic, but it was one of the few that I definitely felt like this is a Christmas movie through and through.
Right.
It's not one of those where it's like, oh yeah, Christmas is the setting and whatever, so we're gonna call it one. No, it's like the entire thing was about Christmas. Now, the main drawback I had with this is that, kind of like how you were mentioning while watching, is that it was not a cultural shift. There was, you'd have to be really paying attention to realize that she's Jewish.
Yeah, because this movie is set up and you expect it to be like, oh, okay, so we have this girl who's Jewish and she is gonna go spend Christmas for the first time with her boyfriend's family. And while that is true, she's experiencing her first Christmas, there's zero focus on that.
Yeah.
It's not what it's about.
Yeah, so the poster is a little bit misleading because there's equal parts Christmas and Hanukkah on it, and that's not the case here. It is 100% Christmas, and it's almost like, even though this was her first Christmas, it almost feels like she's had it before. She's just used to it. So I don't know about that. I do know that next week there's going to be a Hanukkah movie. Hanukkah's in the title, so we'll see how that goes next time. But for this, I don't know what they lit the menorah, and that's about it.
Right. Well, and they had a Hanukkah celebration with her family, which lasted maybe 5 minutes out of the whole movie.
Yeah. With
just some traditional food and that kind of thing. But there was not much focus on it at all.
Right. Now, I did not like the guy in the movie.
No.
I thought that he felt fake for the most part. I felt like he was just like one of those fake Hallmark characters that they have.
He wasn't important either. Like, I mean,
it was really about her and how she got along with his family more so than how she got along with him.
Right.
Because the mom was the uptight, meet the parents type of mother who you're trying to impress.
Right, and she was well-meaning, I think. She wasn't just flat-out mean like some of the other situations that we've seen. But she just liked things her way and was very, very rigid and wasn't able to adapt to anything new.
Yeah, one thing that I didn't mention in the prediction part is, because I didn't know, is that this is an adaptation of a book. I've been noticing that. There's a lot of adaptations that Hallmark's been doing. It's not ever marketed as it, but they are based off of books here and there. I find that interesting, but it's not a Debbie McComber book.
Thank God.
Now, this is actually somewhat realistic and down to earth, and it's probably because it's an adaptation is why it feels so much like Christmas.
Maybe.
But what would you rate it?
55, maybe.
Yeah, I think when the movie first began, I had the number 50 floating in the back of my head, but it got a little bit better as it went along, and that's mostly for the actress playing Leah, I think.
She was very, very likable.
Yeah, I could see her in other Hallmark movies for sure. So I'll boost up my score as well to 55. I think that's fair. It's not the best thing that we've seen, but it's just it's
far from the worst.
It's far from the worst, and in general, it's better than what we expected. So I think that all comes together, and we have a 55%, which, hey, the closest we have there is the TMDB score, which they rated at 57%. So well, it's not too far off. But yeah, that was Leah's perfect gift. Which, if we look back again at this week, we have looked at the following films this week. The Christmas Quest, which was the National Treasure-like movie. That Christmas, which was the animated Netflix film. Private Princess Christmas, which was the one that felt like somebody who wrote it while they were on drugs. Sugarplummed, that was kind of fun.
It's arguably the best.
And of course, this final film, which was Leah's perfect gift. So it was an interesting week, to put it lightly. We only have one more week, one more episode of the podcast to talk about for the Christmas movies. We'll talk about that soon enough, so tune in next time for that. But guys, if you have seen these movies, please leave your thoughts about them in the comments section. Let us know which one of them is your favorite, how you rank all these movies thus far, and if you're looking forward to the final 5 movies that we're going to be talking about on the podcast next week. But until then, peace out.
Bye.
A Finish Line. How about it? How about that? How about that movie?
I would like the last hour and a half of my life back.
Okay, well, yeah, as soon as we started and you saw like two frames of a dog running, you were like, crap!
Okay, because it looked like it was straight out of like the 80s. It was bad.
Well, a lot of the movie actually felt like it was straight out of the 80s in terms of visual production, in terms of visual effects. The entire thing, to me, felt like it was staged in front of a green screen, and you could tell at certain points that was definitely the case, and I had pointed it out to you. But do you think the movie was crap, or do you think it got better overall?
I think it was fine, like all the rest of them, and fine is a very loose term that means I'd rather not watch these.
Well, that's fine. But yeah, my main issue with it was that it was Finnish in terms of half of the characters in there spoke with a thick Finnish accent.
Yeah, you had a really hard time understanding them. I did not, unless they were talking really fast with background noise. Then I'm just like, huh?
No, it literally, to me, it sounded like gibberish. And I'm like, did you catch what they said? And you're like, yeah. And I'm like, how? How?
With my ears. But you have all day not been hearing the things that I'm saying. Maybe it's just you.
I'm telling you, they were all speaking. Oh, I do believe that a big chunk of the movie was indeed shot in Finland. However, unlike the whatever Irish movie, Luck of the Irish, what was it called?
Not called Luck of the Irish. That is that Disney movie.
Disney, yeah, the Disney Channel original movie. That was a good one.
Well, yeah, but unfortunately we have to watch this junk.
No, okay, so the whatever Irish movie that we saw, that also took place in Ireland. They actually shot it there, and as I said in that review, it was kind of like a screensaver movie. One of the main positives that you could say about it was that it was beautiful, the landscape. This, I never really felt that with. I understand that they shot at least part of it in Finland, but I never really believed it, other than the fact that clearly they had Finnish actors.
Yeah, I don't know. I have nothing to add to that.
When I was looking up comments for this movie, a lot of people like it because the dogs are cute. That was always going to be the case.
Okay, but the dogs were barely in it, to be fair. Like,
yeah.
all they are running around, but
They're just, well, yeah.
they're not characters.
They're not, right, they're not characters as you would expect them to be for somebody to rate it high for the dogs.
Yeah.
They also liked the best friend in the movie.
She was fun. I like the cousin.
And you like the cousin.
And the
the
leading
cousin's one of the characters that I couldn't understand.
Well, yeah, but I could understand him and I liked him. I thought he was fun.
I don't know. I don't love this one. There was aspects that I thought were funny, like they had that Santa Claus scene. I thought that was pretty cool. Obviously, the fact that dog sledding in general, you can squint your eyes a little bit and it's like Santa getting pulled by a reindeer.
They had reindeer. You didn't even need to pretend.
Well, yes. But then again, there's no such thing as reindeer sledding, I don't think. Like sports.
Well, no, but they were getting pulled in a sled by reindeer.
Okay, that's fine. But I don't know. I was mostly bored. I feel like I would be a little bit pulled in more so to the story had I been able to understand half of the people.
Okay.
I'm just saying, it is what it is. I was looking forward to this one the least out of everything that we saw this week, but maybe that's just me. Do you have 3 positives for it? Let's see. Positives.
Yeah, the cousin. The cousin was fun.
You like the cousin. I like the best friend.
I also like the leading man. I was familiar with him and other things.
Right? Even though I could have sworn when they introduced his character that he had a Finnish accent.
Because he was faking. He didn't want her to know who he was at first. It was like a mistaken identity thing.
I don't know if I have another positive.
Yeah, because all of those positives were about the casting.
The casting. The casting's good. Nah, I mean...
I liked the whole lifelong dream of going to Finland and racing. I think that's fine. That could...
Oh, there's that one scene in the movie what got really tense really quick.
That is true. This was the most like life or death scene that we have seen in any of these movies.
Oh yeah, she almost died. She was gonna fall off a mountain, and then they pulled her to safety because of the dogs.
Of course,
the dogs,
you know,
yeah.
They were always gonna pull her to safety.
That was a good scene. I'll say that. How would you rate it?
50. I just don't even care.
She's
anymore.
automatic. I'm gonna rate it a nice 22.
22. Why? Because you couldn't understand the Finnish people.
I'm just sitting here. I'm like smiling and nodding as if I understand anything that's happening, and I really don't. I'm just get to the part where they pull the sleds and then there's the dogs, and then eventually at the end, the guy and the girl's gonna kiss. I have no idea what they're saying or what anything means or what anybody means to each other, but I'm just waiting for these moments to happen, and they do.
Okay, well, of course they do. Have we not seen enough of this by now?
So, 22.
Anyway, would you have used your crap button had you still had it?
Yes.
I'm still holding on to mine.
All right. There's only 10 more movies.
And there will be a stinker in there
So
somewhere.
there's 2 podcast episodes left for this season of the podcast. As far as I know, each episode from here on out will be 5 episodes each unless some kind of random movie comes out again.
Because you already missed a movie and I had to remind you that it was on the list.
Well, apparently it just wasn't on mine. Okay, so that was the finish line. And that was also the end of the podcast. So, guys and gals, if you've seen any of these movies, let's give a quick reminder of what all those movies were. We got Dear Santa with Jack Black.
That was by far the best. I even had a friend who also watched it and they liked it.
Really? Okay. Did they also watch Hot Frosty?
They did not.
Okay. 90s Christmas, that was the time travel one. Deck the Walls, that was the home renovation one. Believe in Christmas, that was that one we thought was going to be religious, but it wasn't. It was about Christmas land. Holiday Touchdown, which people, by the way, I've noticed online, have been back and forth about trying to decide if it is inspired by Travis Kelce and...
But his mom was in it.
Right.
Of course it is.
But the Chiefs. So I don't know. And then finally this one, The Finish Line. Have you seen these movies? What'd you think about them? Are you excited for the next or last 10 Christmas movies of the season?
Can we just point out that this week was like a hot mess? Like, they were all over the place.
They were, yeah, and when it comes down to each week that we've talked about, there's always one that was pretty much a nice surprise. I guess this week would be Dear Santa, but that was more of a surprise. That was not supposed to be in the list.
Yeah, and it wasn't a surprise that it was good. We totally anticipated that
Yeah,
it was going to be
like if we were sitting here, if Paramount Plus came out with Christmas movies, like originals all the time, they'd all be miles better than anything that we've been watching. So that's not fair. Like, if you skip out on that, I don't think anything on this week that was a surprise that was super good or anything. It was just average at best and crap at worst. So I don't know, but if you guys have seen them, please leave comments somewhere letting us know what you thought about these movies and if you're excited for the next or last 10 of the season. But until next week, guys, have a good one and peace out.
Bye-bye.